Ezekiel Sims is the anticipated villain in the upcoming Madam Web film, but we don't know much about him from what we've seen in the trailers, so I dug into his comic background to learn more about him before he makes his live-action debut. I'm going to break down his comic background and origin and what we can expect from him in the upcoming Madam Web film. Ezekiel Sims made his first appearance in The Amazing Spider-Man Volume 2, Issue 30. He was created by J. Michael Straczynski, I hope I'm saying that right, and John Romita Jr. Ezekiel Sims is initially presented as a mysterious character who apparently has spider-like powers and abilities as he first meets Spider-Man clinging to the side of a wall. Sims initially sought out Peter to warn him of a vampire-like predator, Morlun, who feeds upon the life energy of people with animal-like powers. However, this was all a part of Sims' initial plan and has to do with how Sims initially got his powers. Unlike Peter, Sims was not bitten by a radioactive spider. Without getting too into the weeds of spider history and all of these things, Sims studied spider totems and was able to find a spider temple. He performed a magic ritual to gain his spider powers initially on purpose, therefore tying himself to a spider totem. But the spider gods actually didn't choose him to allow this to happen, therefore he essentially stole his spider powers. According to Sims, the spider totem is what powers all spider people across the multiverse, and when he tells that to Peter, Peter doesn't really believe him. Either way, this was all a part of Ezekiel's plan to bond with Peter. Because of this bond between Peter and Ezekiel, Peter is at risk for Morlun to go ahead and hunt him because he is tied to that spider totem. And eventually, Morlun does end up hunting Peter, and Ezekiel helps Peter defeat Morlun. So at this point, it seems like Ezekiel is a real upstanding guy. However, that's when we learn really what Ezekiel's true plan is with Peter. Ezekiel tells Peter that the Gatekeeper, a spider totem deity, wants to kill Peter because he is unworthy of his powers. Sims then continues to help Peter to prepare to fight the Gatekeeper, but in all reality, we know that the Gatekeeper is actually after Sims because he's the one who stole his powers and has thrown off the balance of the web of life. Ezekiel's plan is basically to bring Peter to the Gatekeeper and sacrifice Peter so that he can restore the balance of the web of life. However, when all of this happens and Ezekiel and Peter are there in front of the Gatekeeper, Ezekiel performs some sort of ritual between them to bond Peter and Ezekiel even more. However, some of Peter's heroicism and nice guyness rubs off on Ezekiel, and he finally realizes that Peter is a more worthy hero than he is, so Ezekiel sacrifices himself. So really, after all of that, you might be asking yourself, how does this relate to what we might see in Madam Web? While we don't know much about Sims in Madam Web, from what we can tell from the trailers, he is drastically different from what we have seen in the comics. From what we've seen in the trailers, he is clearly much younger than what we've seen in the comics. However, there are some other points that are pointing to him being immortal, which I'll get to in a second. He also has his own spider suit, which he has never worn a suit in the comics, and he also appears to potentially have some sort of psychic powers very similar to Madam Web. So with all that being said, I think there are two possibilities that we can expect of Ezekiel in the upcoming film. In the trailer, there are various glimpses of Sims, of him being younger and much older, therefore he has the potential of being immortal. The way he has this potential immortality is that he might siphon the spider powers out of other spider people, and we see him tapping into the powers of Maddie Franklin in the trailer. This is actually very similar to how Morlun feeds in the comics, and so maybe they're combining Ezekiel Sims and Morlun into one character in this film. The other option is that he's doing exactly what he did in the comics, in that he is hunting other spider people to bring them to the Gatekeeper or some spider-like god so that he can sacrifice them so that he continues to have powers. What do you think will be the main driver for Sims seeking out these spider women? Let me know down below in the comments, and if you want to learn more about Madam Web, go ahead and check out this video right here.